me iho apo me na mamo I ka huia pilia nei ke kauna ua I ka loina o ke kupuna Ubale kaha kia kaleo kanika ha kanike ea kanika leo eia kamana leva o ke mele ia hakue le vale akula o I mama wano
A prayer, a plea, a charge. Hear the voices of yesterday as they tell the stories of a time when Mele, music, spoke of love, joy, and sorrow, and defined the mind, the soul, and the heart. A time when Mele was mana, power. A time when mana was passed by ha, the breath of life, through Mele. Can we feel that same mana today? Is the message the same?
Hoa I ke kauna o na loina o ke kupuna. And the loina are the traditions of our kupuna. And this was the process by which they composed, by which they chanted, by which they created their mele.
The tradition of music in Hawaii has no true beginning. For many, the sounds of Hawaiian music today bring to mind images of hula dancers wearing coconut bras and grass skirts. This commercialized Hawaiian music is played on the ukulele, guitar, and bass. However, this is not where the music began. The mele was and remains a necessity of Hawaiian life and culture. Through chant and hula, accompanied by instruments like the ipu and pahu, the Hawaiian people preserved their history, ancestry, and traditions.
The sounded word having mana, being prepared for performance in certain styles, mele hula, mele oli. Then, you want to accept that as isolated, that's fine, we'll start there. There's going to be interaction with other cultures. And once there is, here comes transculturation, retention, and innovation.
The 1930s heralded the birth of traditional or classic Hawaiian music, music that is rooted in ancient Hawaiian language, culture, and traditions. Once a sovereign kingdom, Hawaii was now a U.S. territory. Its strategic position in the heart of the Pacific made it a crossroads for immigration, militarization, and multiculturalism. With the exportation of Hawaiian products like sugar and pineapple, and the importation of labor from around the world, elements born of these exchanges gave rise to the new sound of Hawaiian music.
Anyone who's interested as a student or as a scholar of Hawaii has to think about labor coming from Asia, from the United States and from the Americas, and we're talking about the growth of the plantation system that would bring together all kinds of cultures, whether it's Puerto Rican, Portuguese, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Filipino, and whatnot. When these laborers come, they bring with them also a realization that the work is difficult and that to toil through the work, many people sing through it.
During this time, the songs of Hawaii could be heard mostly on plantations. Then in 1959, in the town of Kaneohe, a young man sat frustrated at his mother's restaurant. The food was great, but where were the customers? As a last resort, he picked up an ukulele and recruited some friends that had musical talent. Each night they played, and as they played, more and more people came to the restaurant. His success quickly spread, and soon he began playing at Duke's Bar and Grill with his friends, the Ali'is. This not only marked the birth of the Waikiki Dinner Show and the beginning of a whirlwind career for Don Ho, it was also the introduction of Hawaiian contemporary music to the world. Contemporary music refers to the genre or style of music that has a more Western progressive sound.
Back in Kaneohe at Honey's, Sonny Chillingworth was in his band, and they both loved Latin music. You know, Don Ho had Benny Chong, like I said, and Johnny Todd, and all these great, legendary musicians around town. Nathan Aviao later on in his career always had top players.
And we used to have all the lights off in the living room and just be lying on the pune, the day beds that they had pune in the old days. And we used to just be lying on the pune and listening to this. And here comes the Don Ho show thing with the drum roll, and everybody's cheering and screaming, and it's exciting. And so it sounded like this one big party kind of thing. And that drew my attention to Don Ho. And it wasn't until later in life that I found out, when I got older, I found out, oh, okay, this guy is the best in Hawaii.
From 1959 to 1965, the excitement of Western music quickly grabbed hold of Hawaii. Rapid changes in language, style, and culture began to take over as tourists came and filled the clubs at Waikiki. As a result, Hawaiian music was mostly in English and encompassed other genres like jazz, doo-wop, and full orchestration.
And so from that era, we kind of built on the big band era. And that kind of slowly went to small rock groups, dance groups like, for example, Don Hall, all those kind of guys.
We were listening to the Surfers. We were listening to all of those beautiful sounds that were involved with very close 4- and 5-part harmony. It was like the Four Freshmen, especially the Surfers. We were also looking at Hawaiian music in a cappella without any accompaniment as well.
It was a period of time where tourists was planning, and we catered to the tourists, and they filled the rooms. Filled up Waikiki, filled the rooms, and so there was money there.
Where were the Hawaiians? Those who enjoyed traditional Hawaiian music were still there. They never left. 3 young men, Peter Moon, and brothers Robert and Roland Casimiro, also known as the Sunday Manoa, and inspired by backyard legends Eddie Kamai, Gabi Pahinui, and the Sons of Hawaii, began to push back, innovate, and bring forth traditional Hawaiian music with a contemporary sound. Together with other musicians like Auntie Genoa Keawe, they created a movement known as the Hawaiian Renaissance.
So the Renaissance was over a very wide period of time, and really the catalyst that stimulated the youth to move forward with it was the Sunday Manoa.
Oh, I guess it was a crack seed store.
Yeah.
That's up. And we took that picture there, Peter Rowland and I, and in the background is Gabi Pahinui in that picture. Yeah, because he was the guest on the album, and we just thought it was really cool. And he was in his
overalls and with his gabardine hair.
Yeah. We the Sunday Manoa was a real it was an entity that had been a long time coming. But I think what happened for us, especially when we were with the Sunday Manoa, is that we were embracing all different parts of who we were at the time, with a real understanding, a real base in Hawaiian music. So even though we were avant-garde, it was you always had the root, that grounded feeling of it being Hawaiian, being of Hawaii.
It was through this movement that Hawaiian music was taken from small family gatherings at home and placed on a public forum. Soon it would receive national and worldwide recognition. For the first time, modern instruments were being used to play traditional Hawaiian music.
I think it went to more instrumental because there were so many stories that had to be told. Stories about the Aina, about the love of the land, about the love of people.